Hey Amazon sellers or soon to be sellers, my name's Warner and I started my personal Amazon side hustle as a college kid. I had $1,000 to my name, and since then I've been able to sell over $7 million worth of products on the platform, but it took me a lot longer than it would have starting all over, and there's a ton of things I wish I knew before I got started. And I know your time is valuable as a business owner, so I just want to jump right into it, and we're going to start by talking about the first thing that I really wish I knew. I see this a lot with a ton of beginner Amazon sellers, and that first thing I want to emphasize is as an Amazon seller, you have to turn off your consumer hat, right? Because what I see a lot of people do is they'll be like, oh, what do I want to sell on Amazon? Okay, here, what are the best products that sell on Amazon? Okay, how do I find these Hanes underwear, these Crocs shoes, right? All of these things that are extremely high ranking products, extremely good selling product. Obviously, we want to sell products that sell, but in the example of just looking at things that sell best, right? You need to think about why those things are selling some of the best in the world, and it's probably because they're an extremely good deal, right? In this case, it's like a bunch of underwear, 18 bucks, pretty reasonable, right? A giant thing of paper towels, 25 bucks. That's going to be hard for us as just like normal third-party business owners to buy things that cheap in order to still be able to make a profit on Amazon. Or on the flip side of that, a lot of sellers will be like, all right, I don't want to sell best sellers, but I want to go in here and I want to sell Crayola crayons, right? And they're very particular. I'll talk to new sellers and I want to sell this product. That's not how you should think about selling products at all, right? You shouldn't even think about, I want to sell this product. You should let the products come to you. So for example, let me show you a product that I ended up finding for my Amazon store. We found this on camera a few weeks ago before Valentine's Day. And it's the perfect example to me of a product where it's like, all right, I have to stop thinking like myself, where I would maybe shop a little bit smarter, look around, that kind of thing, and put myself and just trust the data from these softwares that we have. So for example, this candle, we bought it for 25 bucks. It's selling for almost $50 on Amazon. And even though to you and I, that probably sounds absolutely insane. Like, why in the world are people paying $50 for a 3.5-inch tall candle? At best, it's 4.5 inches tall, right? But the fact of the matter is, when we look at the data, even after Valentine's Day right now, it's still selling on Amazon. And we can see, looking back during Valentine's Day season, this product was selling even faster, right? The sales rank was in the 50,000 mark. Right now, it is the 380,000th best selling product in tools, and it still sells 20 times a month. I can put you in perspective how fast things really sell on Amazon. But overall, this is just a perfect example of, I've never heard of this brand. Why are people paying $50 for it? Doesn't matter. We got to trust the data as Amazon sellers, because honestly, you'll end up selling a lot of crazy stuff. And through the rest of this video, I'm also going to show you how to find a lot more products like this, by the way. But as we're looking at name brand products like this, even ones I've never heard of personally before, that brings me to the next conversation, where it's probably the biggest thing that holds back Amazon sellers and really shouldn't be at all. And that is the process of getting approved to sell these brands. When I first started selling on Amazon, I wish I knew that it was possible to get approved to sell all kinds of name brands. And in fact, for the first year of my Amazon business, I ended up selling about $100,000, but it was all used books because I didn't have any Amazon seller friends who could tell me, hey, you can just get ungated to sell big name brands, right? And when I was starting on Amazon, that was like secret knowledge. Let me show you how to get around that. And honestly, the brand approval process has been made even easier. So what we need to do is go to Boxem, which this is the software you're going to use to end up like tracking all your profit and managing your store. Essentially, you can see this is my like live dashboard here, but I'm going to use this specifically to get us ungated in a ton of products right away. This is honestly what I would consider step 0.5 now as an Amazon seller, because we can go to inventory and then we can go to bulk scan right here. And then this part, by the way, I would really recommend following along with. You can do this for free. Just grab a trial down below. Just click this button right here, and it's going to check about 750 products that are preloaded into Boxem, and it's going to try to ungate these products in your account for you automatically. So you can see it can do up to 5 per second depending on how fast things are going, and it's showing me all these brands that I am ungated to sell. You, as a brand new Amazon seller, you're probably not going to see this many ungated brands. I've been selling for 7 years. What you will see is about 50 to 100 brands with one button press right there that you are auto ungated or auto approved to sell, right? So these would be things that you're now approved to sell on Amazon. No invoices needed. Just as long as you're buying these products from legitimate suppliers, you're good to go. But obviously, not every product that you want to sell on Amazon is going to get ungated for you for free, right? For example, here's 2 brands like in my Amazon account that are gated. So I'm going to show you like what I would do exactly if I want to get one of these ungated. So Dolcetto or something like that. Let's go ahead and check out this brand right here. Seems like it is like some kind of like grocery brand, something like that. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go ahead and Google the product name, right? I can just click the Google button on SellerAmp. SellerAmp being the other software that kind of need as a beginner Amazon seller, by the way. Go ahead and Google this one right here. And I can see, all right, Olive Basket sells these. Kroger seems to sell these. So as long as I buy these from a legitimate retail store, and when I buy this, make sure that the information on that invoice matches my Amazon seller account, I can submit that invoice to Amazon for approval. So on these products where I'm gated, you can just click click ungate, that's going to take you to Amazon Seller Central, where you will upload the invoice after you've placed the order. That's just going to be the order confirmation. And then if they deny stuff like that, you can add tracking delivery proof, you can add pictures of the product, just as much information as possible until you do get approved for that product. And so expanding on this ungating, right? Now that you know how to get approved to sell a bunch of brands for free, what do we even do with this? Because we were just talking about it's important to trust the data, not just trusting random, oh, I think this will sell well on Amazon. So we could actually use like this as an example. I'm going to use this Ulta Beauty product because number one, it should be very obvious where these people are buying this product from. If it's Ulta Beauty, the only place someone could be buying this is from Ulta's website. And what we can do is we can go into SellerAmp and just allow the data to show us which products in a specific brand might sell well. So I'm going to go to SellerAmp right here. I'm going to go into the top right corner and click advanced search. And then I'm going to use this to search for a couple things, right? I want to search for products that have a good sales rank on average. So to me, I like to look under 175K or so. I want to look for things that have at least a few sellers. So I know it's not like a private label product. I know that other resellers could be on it. And I don't want Amazon to be on it super often. So half of the time or less. And for our example, Boxem just was like, hey, you're approved to sell Ulta for free, right? So now what I can do is I can go in here and add a brand filter for Ulta, for example. And that is going to show me how much potential there is and really just show me how reseller friendly a brand is. So if I search Ulta Beauty, I can see, okay, we literally have one product, right? So that's probably because a lot of these are maybe not super fast selling items. Probably a lot of Amazon customers realize they could just buy it at Ulta, right? But if I compare that to another brand that I was able to see here, like for example, Skechers, or let's use Carter's, for example. So I can go in here, plug in Carter's as my brand. And now I can see, hey, there's actually a ton of products that meet the criteria, right? Like I'm scrolling here. Yeah, there's actually about 330 products. You can see that in the bottom right corner there that meet all those criteria and are reseller friendly for us. And on top of that, one other thing I like to do on this is to look for things that are increasing in price. So what this specific filter right here is, it says, hey, the current buy box price, or the current new price essentially, sort those entire list of 300 products in order of the ones that are increasing in price. So the ones that are increasing in demand, likely profitability, that kind of thing. And when I search for this product, I can see, for example, these like underwear here are actually on the Carter's website. Let's make sure the same checkers and everything like that. But yeah, the same pattern right there is actually on the Carter's website for $11. But over here on Amazon, that is going for $35. So this is probably going to be like our first example of a profitable item. So go ahead and plug in $11. Perfect. So we have $12 in profit. This is honestly a very good item and we trust the data here. But this also takes me on to the next very important thing that I wish I knew about selling on Amazon, being that you can always make more profit, right? You're not always just relying on finding the profit. So in this case, we were able to find profit, right? We just Googled the item. Hey, it's cheaper over there. It's a lot more expensive on Amazon. Boom, I'm going to buy it and sell that on Amazon. Sometimes though, maybe we Google that item and it says it's $20, right? One of the best ways to make profit being checking for discounted gift cards, checking for coupons, loyalty rewards programs, all of these different ways to create extra profit. So for example, if I search for Carter's up here, this is going to show me, hey, I can go to Card Depot right now and I can buy one of these gift cards. So you can see right here, I can pay $42 as my retail price and I'm going to buy $50 worth of Carter's store credit essentially. So even though this is already really profitable buying for $11, we can make it even more profitable, right? Now we can save 15% just because we're buying discounted money at Carter's. And now we've made ourselves an extra $2. Or let's go back to that example where we Googled it and it's $20, right? If I take away 15%, now as an Amazon seller who knows just a little bit of extra knowledge, who's just willing to do a little bit of extra homework, I went from this item being not good to it being profitable on all fronts, right? ROI is good, profit's good, and so on. Which by the way, this profit calculator for me is including shipping, sales tax, and Amazon fees. So just in case you're wondering what is like real profit and stuff. Which by the way, another great way to create extra profit on a product is thinking about multi-packs, right? When we go to a website and we buy a 4-pack of something, don't always assume just sell the 4-pack on Amazon. We can actually just go back into Amazon and start selling different size multi-packs depending on what is most profitable. And you can even search specifically for those products. So I'm just going to take away Carter's for this example. And I'm also going to add another filter here for a title search, because what could be really interesting is, let's say we want to find grocery products where we only want to find the multi-packs. What we can do is we can just go and say the title has to include pack of, and I could also go in here and add a certain category. So let's say I just want to search for grocery products with a good sales rank. It has resellers on it and they're multi-pack. Let me run that search. And now instead of just looking for like the boring singles and stuff like that, now I have all these multi-packs and things like that where I might be able to go in here and create some bundles, do some just like a little bit extra homework to create some of this profit, right? So looking through here, some of these already seem somewhat interesting. 2 bags of sunflower seeds, we can get those for $2 or so each, which is already pretty close. You can see we get these for $2.50 each without even like trying to create any discounts. Or here's like a pack of sugar cookies. If we can get 4 of these sugar cookie mixes for $10 $10 right there. Those are $3. So again, very close. I don't want to do like an overwhelming amount of sourcing in this video, but you can see how this strategy can apply to lots of different ways to find those products that just other people are skipping over or not thinking that they can sell. And that brings me to the next thing that I wish I knew before I started selling. And this one's important. It might help you not panic next time something goes wrong in your business, because what I realized pretty quickly into my Amazon reselling business is that my business is the processes of finding lots of new products. I've been through a few cycles now where my store is 30, 40, 50, 70% narrowed down into one specific supplier or one specific brand that I'm selling. And while this can be a good way to scale, it's obviously not great to have all your eggs in one basket in terms of one brand. You never know if they're going to stop running a specific sale that you love buying from, or maybe that brand wants to start selling their products on Amazon themselves. That happened to me with one of my favorite reselling brands. And at the time it's, oh man, I don't have a business anymore. I got to throw in the towel. But then you realize, okay, if I found one good brand that I like selling before, why can't I find one new good brand or 10 new good brands or 20 new good brands, right? So just keep that in mind, that your reselling business is more about finding as many of those opportunities as possible. I have plenty of videos on the channel that show you how to find those opportunities. And based on those lessons I've learned since then, having some really bad months after some of my favorite brands got cut off, a super smart kind of tactical policy, you can write this down or just keep it in the back of your mind, is to make sure you're setting aside time to do things that you're not so good at. It's human nature. When we sit down at the computer, we want to maximize our time. Okay, I'm really good at sourcing this niche. Let me only spend my time buying a bunch of products in this niche. And then something goes weird in that niche and oh crap, what's going wrong with my store? So I'd really recommend, whether it's 30 minutes a week, an hour a day, whatever's like a little bit of time for your business, to go in and set aside time to do what I like to call exploratory sourcing. So just exploring new categories, right? Loading into SellerAmp advanced search and looking into new categories you've never checked out before, loading up websites and checking out new brands you've never looked into, even though you're almost definitely not going to make as much money as you do when you're sticking to your bread and butter. Just in case something ever goes wrong with your bread and butter, you'll always have those new ideas to fall back on, start expanding on, and it won't really be a reset when you lose some of those bigger opportunities, because you're already prepared to move on to cool new ideas. And that brings me to the next thing that I definitely wish I knew. I was actually getting some messages from students this morning asking me about this, which kind of inspired the video, but that is to remember that not all products are created equal. And what I mean by that is, especially from a product sourcing criteria standpoint, you shouldn't always stick to certain just like rigorous guidelines. Common examples of that would be like people, they always want to make 30% ROI. They always want it to be selling 100 times a month or more. It's just super simple guidelines like that. I think it's a really bad way of looking at running a business, to be honest, very black and white. When products aren't necessarily so always good or always bad, you need to factor in all the different potential risk factors. For example, when we were looking at this Valentine's Day product, right? When we're looking at seasonal products, there is an obvious inherent risk with that product not selling during the ideal season, which you can see during this SellerAmp chart right here. You see how the sales rank was pretty low. The lower that green line, the faster it sells, the higher it is, the slower it sells. And what this chart shows me is that there were probably a lot of people who bought it pre-Valentine's Day and then were not able to sell it by Valentine's Day, right? This would just be a super simple example of seasonality being a risk factor. Other risk factors would be things like buying women's shoes or children's clothes, things that get returned at a much higher rate than something like grocery. So products aren't so black and white. And for my business, I will usually be looking for around a 30% ROI in terms of profit, but I've also gone down on that if it's things like a really fast selling grocery product, because there's no returns, there's no risk of anything going wrong there. Say the price is super stable, I'll look for a little bit lower ROI. If I'm looking at something like this, where it's a seasonal product with pretty low monthly sales, I'm obviously going to want to factor in that risk and look for a lot more ROI. So other risk factors would be things like you see a lot of new people coming onto the listing. When you look at the chart, you look at the new offer count, maybe that chart's going way up in terms of new sellers. Maybe that is a brand with lots of returns. All those small different things, those should just start to slowly bump up your criteria in terms of what you're looking for. So honestly, depending on the product, I'll buy anything from a 20% ROI, like that grocery product. Sometimes I might need 70, 80, 90% ROI. Let's say it's like a seasonal product with a high risk of returns. Think like a Halloween costume, for example. I would need there to be a ton of profit involved to be worth taking on the risk of all the outside risk factors. But to be honest, the real biggest thing that I wish I knew after starting my business so long ago was just to try to be consistent, right? There, you can do all the tactical hacks and all the sourcing hacks in the world, but if you're not consistent, you're not going to see consistent results. So if you're watching this deep into the video, I'd encourage you to take this as your sign to just go get started. Go try the Boxem auto ungate sourcing method. I think that's by far the easiest way that I've ever seen for beginner Amazon sellers to source products. It's very cool. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, anything like that down below in the comment section before you go spend your time and money. And I'm also going to be picking one of you guys to get a free month of Boxem, which is worth about $70. Just comment profit down below or anything else, and I'll pick one of the random commenters after a week to give that free month to. But I really appreciate you watching this video. And if you want to see more information about the product sourcing process, you can watch me source products in more detail here.